I can't wait to talk about this film that you've been raving about for a while. And I was like, there's no way this film is going to live up to the hype that Dave has said. Minari, the Lee Isaac Chung masterpiece, Dave's number one film of 2020. And folks, it's good. It lives up to the hype. It's on video on demand right now. You can get, I think it's early. It's called early access on Amazon Prime.
PVOD, $20.
But man, I thought this was just a triumph of a film. Stephen Yun on a heater to end all heaters at the moment, but you know, I I just felt like emotionally wrecked by this film. Like it really like has such a wonderful way of like building you up and tearing you down and then building you back up again pretty quickly, and just how masterfully Chung um, kind of just pulls the strings throughout. I'm just so impressed by. Dave, did you rewatch? Did you pay the $20?
I did not rewatch. I did look for some clips and stuff, but it's still very fresh because the movie's that good.
Yeah, it's really a moving film with so many like features, and I think what I found myself, I guess, starting to, and being most pulled in by is the little boy in all of this. Surprisingly,
Mhm.
Alan Kim, who played David, uh, obviously from the very beginning of the film is made to be a centerpiece of this family. They're always making sure he's not running, not exerting too much energy. He's got a heart issue, a hole in his heart, and uh, this little boy, Alan Kim, is so freaking cute, man. Like he might be the cutest little boy I've ever seen in my life, and he did a really good job of acting in this, which is hard. Something I feel like you don't really expect out of child star. So did Noel, Kate Cho, who played his older sister Anne, and then you have the dynamic between Jacob and Monica throughout. You bring in Grandma Soon Ja, played by Yuh-jung, and it's just like uh, recipe for success. I wanted to ask you because it's so fresh in my mind. What are the moments from it that you feel
Hmm.
like have stuck with you since you watched it all the way back in February?
Uh, no, was it end of October I saw it? Yeah,
You
it's
saw it
been
in
a
October.
yeah, been a minute. Um, but yeah, I think that everything with the family, right? Like the Yi family and that journey and just how resonant it is, right? Like it's and that's what was so annoying about the Golden Globes kerfuffle is because it's a movie that's so fixated on the American dream and really relatable values and ideals about a family coming to a new place and trying to make the best of their situation and keep each other going and keep themselves together in the process, right? Like everything with the grandma and the kid and how they would I think that dynamic pays off so well when like they're like, oh, grandma's weird or grandma smells or whatever it is, or the
Yeah.
food stinks, whatever it is, right? And they progress and like you really then like the relationship grows organically over time. You learn what Minari means,
Hmm.
what happens at the end, and obviously the very end is like big tragedy, but like the I think that relationship between David and the grandma. But I also am a Steeman Young stan at this point. I'm really happy to see him show out
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah. I really liked the way the movie kind of like really pulls you into this family. I mean, you're like living in this tiny little trailer with them, and like it feels so.
Arkansas, right?
Yeah, it's in Arkansas, and it feels so personal. Like you really are like laying in the bed with them. You're like really at the table with them. You start to become so invested in all the dynamics, and you see how hard they're working. Monica and Jacob on their own dreams. Monica to become better at identifying the sex of the chickens that she's looking at, so she could make it in California if she wanted to, and Jacob working to create the farm that he's wanted to have, and you start to see them have this success, and then things just start going wrong, and they keep running into obstacles, and it feels so frustrating. Obviously, the grandma gets sick, has a stroke, and isn't herself anymore. Just as her and David's relationship was really starting to bud and grow in such a beautiful way. Um, and it really just starts to pull you apart. And building it back up around that uh, promise that they made each other, Jacob and Monica, that they would help each other out through everything, they would get each other through the hard times, save each other. And seeing the way that they do that, having to rely on their community, having to rely on people to help them. I thought the very, very end, when they showed the guy who's using the stick to find the water for the well, was just such like a great way to end it, because that had stuck in my mind how much he was like, no, we're smart, we'll just use our logic to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then
Will Patton as Paul.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
pretty
So good.
quickly, like, it doesn't work out. But then at the end, they do rely on someone else to help them find where the water source is. And I just was like, and but instead of it just being Jacob and David, it's Jacob and Monica and David and Will and like this whole group together. And I just
Yeah.
thought it was such a beautiful metaphor, and so like understated but like well done. It really like spoke to me.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I think that's the thing, and that's what Lee Isaac Chung kind of touched on in his acceptance speech for the Globes. It's just that it's a movie about community and family and love, and I
mhm,
think it's like you watch it and you're waiting for the shoot. You're waiting for something bad to happen. Right? Everyone's talking about how this is bad land. The last guy who lived there went bankrupt. Good fucking luck,
mhm.
bro. And you're waiting for something to happen. And I definitely didn't see coming exactly what happens with the heat, shall I say? But you know, man, like the water stuff's really good, man. Like
Yeah,
I think Will Patton was perfect as like a Pentecostal working poor guy in the area who befriends David or
totally.
Jacob, and like even like the brief moments like when he's like doing his thing, carrying the cross, atoning,
Mhm.
and the kids in the school bus are like, "Yo, what's up with that guy? He's weird." It's like everything felt so real.
Yeah, and the way that they kind of like slide in like the classism and the racism into it, and not necessarily in a way where you're just like, oh wow, that's awful, but like you see it through like the eyes of like the children, right? Like, oh, stop me when I say a word that's actually in your language, and she just starts saying the most like
Yeah,
stereotypical, Asian
yeah,
language.
ching chong shit.
Yeah, and or when the little boy asked David why his face is so flat, and he's like, "It's not. What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
Just like things like that, and through the eyes of babes, you can kind of make it a little bit more palatable. But then you see the way that they're talking about Will Patton's character Paul as he's carrying the cross, and they're like, "Hey, that guy doesn't even have any running water. Like, can you imagine like
hmm
living life like that?" And meanwhile, there's David and Anna just like, keeping their mouths shut because they didn't have any running water at the house when when they were being driven home like that. It's like
yeah.
just like the subtleness of some of it was just really well done, and just such a beautiful story, man. It's amazing that he based this off of his own life in so many ways. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it's not, a true
hmm
story in every sense, but still, just
Yeah.
wow.
Also, Jacob and Monica's, I think, relationship as a young couple trying to enterprise as best they can.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, really well done. Like, you got a lot of like familiar themes, right? Of like a in-law coming into the home and the
Hmm.
you know the non uh, child of that figure trying to live with that new circumstance in their home. Like, there's so much familiar to it, right? But yeah, like
Yeah.
it comes across as so genuine. From what I understand, Hanyi Ree plays Monica's bit of a newcomer, whereas Yuh-jung, who plays the grandma, she's like a legend, like veteran actor over in Korea.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up actually, because with how much they fight, I think very much could be like, well, these two should just break up, but they give you just enough moments for you to like be rooting for them. Like when Jacob works himself too hard in the field and he can't take his shirt off or wash his hair, and he's sitting in the tub and Monica's doing it for him. Like, those sorts of moments just like show you the love that they have, but how the way that they're going about building their life is pulling them apart. And
Mhm.
um, then they have that devastating fight, obviously, and it's just like so gut wrenching.
Yeah.
Just really a masterclass in making a subtle but affecting movie. Just really impressive.
hmm Yeah. So Yun and Yoon Yuh-jung were both nominated by SAG. Um, so we're definitely paying attention to this. Actually, Stephen Yun, in the process of being nominated for Best Actor at SAG, he's the first Asian American to be nominated for that,
Wow,
which is pretty wild.
that's
But
amazing.
I'd say it's a long time coming for Stephen Yun, right? Because he post The Walking Dead, he's slowly made his name as a serious dramatic actor. I think small roles in like Okja and Sorry to Bother You, but really in 2018 when he you know absolutely destroyed it in Burning in a supporting role. It's like, oh wait a minute, like this guy's like really high class. And then in Minari being the lead and playing a completely different person than he does in Burning, much more straightforward person, but he just has so much more emotive scenes in this and a lot more subtlety, I think, in his performance. And not that he wasn't subtle in Burning, but like this role, despite being lead, is still requires a lot of subtlety, Jacob. So
Totally.
uh, I'm hopeful that Stephen Yeun gets nominated for Best Actor. He's should be a tremendous pick if he did win.
It would be a really inspired pick, and
Of course, he's going up against Chadwick, so uh, he's I think very unlikely to win.
mhm.
So we'll settle for the nomination. But I just the recognition he's getting now is long overdue.
um, just thinking about it, do you think there's a chance that we see Chloe Zhao and Lee Isaac Chung in the Best Director category, and we have two Asian American filmmakers up for Best Director?
It's possible. It's
That would be
possible.
great.
Zhao's definitely getting nominated, and
Yeah,
Liazek Chung's right in the mix with a bunch of people. So yeah, and that's the
I
thing.
mean,
Like Minari did get a SAG Ensemble nomination. If it's a won that,
mhm.
all bets are off in terms of what Minari could achieve. So
it,
TBD on that still.
if we get back to back films that are considered like Asian foreign films in some sense winning Best Film, I mean that would be unbelievable.
Well, that's the thing. It's like no planning of mine, but my last three number one movies of the year are speak the main language is Korean. Burning, Parasite, and now Minari.
Hmm.
Just the movies I see. It is what it is.
So it's interesting that we've kind of seen foreign films do that, where like Mexico for a while had such a run with
That's right.
like Roma and uh,
Shape of Water.
yeah, Guillermo del Toro and all those. So yeah, interesting. So we'll be tracking that